if you don't realize that this business is like 75% business and 25% creative,
Yeah.
you never kind of get past that stage. And the thing that usually pushes people over the edge from 500 to into like the $1,000 plus range is that you're so tired of doing these $500 projects. And I'm sure it's the same thing. It's like, oh man, like I can't do another one of these.
I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah, because you start doing the math and you're like, wait, so I make no money on this? You need to be above everyone when you come down to the idea of like negotiating and stuff like that. And even when you start to think of these things too, like when you're in the negotiating phase, how do you get more leverage? And what that means when it comes to filmmaking is like, how do I make sure that when someone comes out and reaches out to me, I don't feel like I'm desperate? Welcome back to the Unfold podcast. Have you guys ever struggled going from $0 to $500, or even wondering right now how to get to $10,000 plus? Picture yourself pitching numbers like $15,000, $25,000 and above to any client you want, with the confidence knowing that they're most likely going to take it because you have the skills, you have the network, you are the right person for this project. And by the end of this video, we're going to show you the exact path that it takes and the mindset that it takes to get you to these levels. So today, as always, we have Juanjo and myself, Jason, and we're going to dive right into it.
All right, so let's go back. You got nothing, $0, zero to $500 budget. Where are you starting? How are you approaching this conundrum?
Okay, let's start at the highest level. Let's do mindset, right?
Okay.
Let's do like where you are right now and then where you need to get to kind of get past this stage. And the goal here ultimately is like, can we get you guys one step closer to a place where you feel a little bit more comfortable, you know what mindset you need to have, and then typically it just becomes an experience thing. So like you actually have to do a few projects in this space range and then you're like, okay, great, I've elevated and I can move on from there. 0 to 500. What does that feel like for you?
0 to 500 is definitely like, I feel like even that is kind of a crazy range because $0 and $500 insinuates very different things.
Yeah.
Like you could be, I think if you're at $500, it means like someone is paying you to do something. You're obligated to do something. But when you're at $0, it could be like a favor. It could be like networking, relationship building, or you could be like a student or doing it for the first time, It's kind of like a crazy, crazy range. But at the end of the day, when you're at $0, you have absolutely nothing to work with. Like you might have some gear. I doubt you even have lights, to be honest with you. So in that light, you got to be able to leverage, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. In the beginning, 0 to 500 to me was asking anyone and I live near a coffee shop that just opened up and I was like, hey, coffee shop, can I shoot something for you? And all I had was like a camera and a gimbal. Again, like you said, no lights. So it was like, okay, what's the best time of day I could shoot this at? And it didn't really matter. Like lighting wise, didn't really matter. I was just going in there to shoot. And I needed some stuff I just knew I needed stuff on my portfolio because anytime I was reaching out to people, they were just saying no to me, or there's no proof that I can actually do any of this stuff. So like with the coffee shop, they didn't care, right? Because the obligation there is, oh, we're a new coffee shop, like more like videos and data or like media stuff is good for us.
Yeah.
So they're just like, yeah, whatever, sure. Like it just becomes a time labor conversation. And then I was trying to do this stuff for like barbershops as well. And so that was paying me like $200-$300 for like a video. It was almost like a hype reel of like people working and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it didn't really add anything maybe it added something to the business in the sense of like, it just kind of like added more visibility in that sense, but like you're not really getting crazy KPIs type of things. Like what am I tracking? Like what am I doing for your business? And how do you actually track that? It's not like you watch that one video. It's like that one video is the thing that ultimately got me here. It's very hard to track that. So like being able to sell and push past that phase is really difficult. In the beginning, I feel like everyone, unless you have like crazy connects or something like that, you have to start at this kind of small business range.
Yeah. So pretty much your approach at that time, because you didn't really have many connections to leverage, you were pretty much just targeting anyone who needed something because they would give you an opportunity because they have nothing to lose.
Exactly. And a lot of times they, in their minds, know video is quite expensive.
Yeah.
And so it was our leverage point in the beginning to be like, hey, I'm going to trade you this. This is for my portfolio, being transparent about it. And so that's how I used to target all these things, right? And if I was going to be in that mindset again, it's like the mindset's the thing that keeps you trapped in that space for so long because you get so scared to like, $1,000 seems impossible.
Yes.
Like anything in that range, or like, why would like, how do I convince myself even that the video that I'm doing is worth $1,000? It almost feels like a scam. Like, and this is where the imposter syndrome, like now I'm like getting it back. Like now I'm like being in that mindset, I'm like, oh God, like trying to convince someone that $1,000 for this video that I don't even know what I'm doing yet is worthwhile. Can be the biggest like barrier for you to actually get past that stage.
Yeah.
And the thing that usually pushes people over the edge from 500 to into like the $1,000 plus range is that you're so tired of doing these $500 projects. And I'm sure it's the same thing. It's like, oh man, like I can't do another one of these.
I can't live like this anymore.
Because you start doing the math and you're like, wait, so I make no money on this? Or like you save $100 maybe.
Yeah.
And then you're like, how is this a career? And this is probably the biggest common spot between both photography and video, where like most people come into this because they have a love for the creative and the ability to like, you know, you can just download Premiere and then you can get a camera and shoot stuff on your phone, and then you get this like itch, right? That was kind of where I started. It's like I was just shooting random stuff on my phone, like a family outing, and then I like chopped it up together. I'm like, whoa. And then you send it off to the group and you get that kind of like, whoa, this is awesome. This is amazing. Like you're almost constantly chasing this dragon of like, that's where I want to go, right? Like I want to keep getting to this level. And like you're chasing this constant dopamine hit of like, oh, this is the world but then it's like, then the world hits you in the face and they're like, oh wait, but you got to make money. And you're like, okay, so now you start to get a little jaded, and like, this is like the early stages of burnout, because you start just doing all these same jobs and then you lose the love of like making like cool stuff. And I'm sure like have you ever felt that in this last couple years?
Definitely. Because at some point, I think the novelty of it wears off very, very fast. I think the first couple of times you do it, you have an opportunity to really flex your muscle and be like, I can do this. You're proving to this person that you're working for, but you're also proving it to yourself. And once you get that first hit of like, I executed this project, no matter how big or small it is, I made a sick edit out of it and I delivered it. The client posted it. It got a couple comments on their stuff. Like people are saying, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen on your page or whatever. Then you're like, let me do it again. I can do 10 of these in a month. Like it doesn't matter to me. But then like you do like 2, 3, 4, and it starts becoming like the same thing again and again. You start running out of ideas. You start thinking like, how do I make this better? And you quickly realize that if you're capped by money, you're gonna kind of plateau unless you have other ideas to try, other concepts. Like obviously you can do a million different things, but there's only so many high quality things that you can do that's gonna kind of push you to the next level. So I kind of found, even when I was starting, I was doing like a lot of running content similar to yourself. That's how we met, actually. But in that space, I quickly found out that there was like not much more I could do. But then I was also kind of stuck there because I was like, this is so cool. Like, let me do like a million different running things. But now I'm niched into the running video. And now it's like, I have nothing else to show for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's probably the most common thing. Like that was the perfect setup for everyone that I've been talking to in the last few like months. If like, okay, like even some of our students and people that like, you know, are outside and run their own businesses, like they talk to me about this stuff. And it just feels like you trap yourself. Like I've gotten so good at this thing that I accidentally am known for becoming, like this is for Zach's example, like the car guy. Right. Or some people are just like, people only know me for like barbershop videos. I'm like, I am not the barbershop guy, you know? And then you have to make that decision from here to kind of like branch out and like showcase who you are truly and like move past that. I think people get stuck in this phase forever just because if you don't realize that this business is like 75% business and 25% creative, you never kind of get past that stage. And then even moving into this next stage, which I would consider like 500 to 25. 25 is like a big number. Like in my mind, it was always like getting to 1,000 and like passing 500 was always tough because like small businesses only have like limited budgets more or less. So you're working in this like smaller range. And then getting past that and then getting capped at like 2,500. And so like even to break past 500, the most tactical thing I would say you can do is just get really good at like networking right away. This happens at every stage and every level. And networking in just the sense of like, you know, it sounds easy, to do, but especially when you're starting out first, you don't have the confidence yet too.
Yeah.
And so networking sounds easy for me to say. You'd probably spend better time feeling a little bit more confident by doing more work, and doing more work, not just in the barbershop space or the running space, because then you just end up being really proficient but bored at it.
Yeah.
And so like a good example for yourself too was you do a lot of this running stuff. I was the same way too. Like I would do a lot of running stuff and I realized like, what now? Like I've capped myself in terms of like what this can be in 2 weeks. And then you quickly realize like, okay, so like there's actually no way to jump up because the clientele is the cap here. Like they actually don't have more money for you. So you actually do need to make the jump up into more of like, clientele that actually has money to spend, right? That's always actually the game along that, like long term down the line. It's like you're always chasing the clientele and the brands that actually have money at different ranges. And so just to kind of give you the full context down the line, it's like global brands like a Nike will have budget for these small recap stuff as well, depending on where you're coming from. But then they also have like mid-range campaigns that are more local to your city or country. Maybe it's for like the New York Marathon or like, not, like I think it's Chicago, whatever it is. They might have like, like a 15 or 25 or K budget for that. And then you go into more of like the global range, which ends up being like, million plus or whatever. And depending on where you're at in your career, that exists at every company more or less when it comes to like the big companies. It's just when you're not primed for that next level yet, you aren't invited to the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing too. A lot of people like what you don't know is what you don't know, right? Like you're just naive to the world. And so you don't realize that for me to actually work with a bigger company like Nike at that scale, you actually need to just get better and like to put yourself and be confident in that space, for example, right? So even for Nike, I'm kind of jumping a bit ahead right here, but we worked with Nike before on a production scale, and the budget was like $2,500. But if I just told you like, hey, we're working with Nike, you're probably idea or inclination of like what that budget might look like.
That's some shmoney.
Yeah, some shmoney, but it's not, right? And it's only because what the scale of that project was and where it sat. So going back, if you're in that 0 to 500 range, you just need to get confident and be more so understanding of like, you're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Like your best ideas and like, how you're going to operate further down the line it's all going to come and it's going to get better as you go. Right. Because the beginning stuff, your first 5 videos are going to be so bad. Yeah. Right. And you just got to get a better understanding of like who you are and like what you want to be doing. And you're constantly chasing for that. And then the biggest thing early on that people don't do is like they're constantly stuck in this like the scarcity mindset of like, I got to beat this other person out. Why don't you actually go and talk to that person and see what they're doing and see what they're up to, right? You want people that also have more of like an abundance mindset that allows you to like, foster a real relationship. Like people grow so fast when you have a community around you that like allows you to talk about these things or like have real conversations about how to grow and like not feel like you're a hermit in this space, because it's so easy to be like me versus you when it's really you versus yourself, right? It's like you're going to be the biggest crutch in terms of being in your head so much and like, really beating yourself down when you feel like your projects don't hit or equate or aren't doing as well as someone else's. So like that constant like competitive, like, oh, I can't believe that guy got that job or that person got that job. Like that just holds you down for so fast. So like, number one, meet more people, meet people that actually want to grow, because these people will also bring you work and bring you, opportunities down the line. And again, this happens at every level. So you just constantly want to be expanding your network. Do a few projects, right? Try different things. Don't just because you can do running stuff and maybe it pays the bills, do that. But then in the off time, like start testing other things. Start realizing like you need to do things to solidify in your brain that like this is actually an option. I can actually keep doing more of this. And then it's going to take you at minimum like 6 months to a year. I would say give it a year. Yeah. Right. And this is how I would approach it anyways. Cause like I would still need to try new things in the beginning. Yeah. You don't know what you love yet. I always say you try to find your like creative North Star from the beginning. For me, it took me a while to figure that out. It was like more fashion related stuff. But in the beginning, I only got the opportunities to do like barbershops and running stuff.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you actually. I think. Well, let me put you in a scenario. Okay. I think the 0 to 500 jump is quite simple, right? Like you just have to target your clientele very strategically, and then eventually, like you will start to generate a little bit of money. Like a couple $200 projects and $500 projects might come your way. You're gonna start accumulating money. When you're at that stage, like you might be stuck there for a while because you don't really know that next jump, like what it takes. Personally, I think two things have to happen. A, you gotta be very wise with your money. And B, you have to make that shift of going from like, I'm going to go into this project blind, shoot whatever I have to shoot, and then think of something in the edit and make it look cool.
Yeah.
That was like my approach for like everything back in the day. I think you have to make a very intentional switch there to level up from that $500 range.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, when you're in that scenario, how did you approach that? And how would you approach that today?
In that range, intentionally switching is actually very difficult because it's just like I know what the mindset is in that space where you feel like you want to do more, but you physically can't, or like you're budgetarily restricted in that sense. The way that we got out of this range, and it might be very different for a lot of people, but we ended up buying a course. Like it was like $2,500. It was like a video course that kind of jumped us into more of like a business space more so still, right? Because we were already doing small business projects and stuff like that. And like we were okay of like finding those types of clients. But we just didn't know how to break price ranges, right? Like how do you pitch $2,500 with confidence that it doesn't feel like it's the end of the world for you or them? I think a lot of times people, when they pitch budgets, which is the biggest crutch for a lot of people, because then they feel uncomfortable with like putting out a number out. They don't know where this number came from. Like sometimes it's just like, I want to pitch 2,500.
Yeah.
And then you don't even say it with confidence. So like people don't even want to trust you for it. And then it's always the question of like, how do you showcase that value? Like, how do I explain that this is worth it for you? Right. And a lot of times when you're coming up in this space, you're putting a lot of your own preconceived ideas on money. Cause like if you can't afford it, you think other people can't afford it, but that's not how the world works. Right. It's like, if this is valuable for them and you can prove to them that this is valuable and there's like long-term like gains from this, then the ROI and the return on investment for them makes sense, right? It's like, hey, if I get one more client from this, and over the year or lifetime value is like $2,500, then sure, let's just do this video for 2,500, right? It's like all we need to do is one client, and that was like kind of the basic switch for us, which is, oh, what we do isn't just making pretty stuff; it brings value if that person understands the value, right? And so it becomes a mixture of education and like, I'm sure for you too, like you're trying to sell for more for say one of your old clients right now, and they're typically only paying you $500.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, look, if I make you this video, it's gonna cost $2,500, but you're gonna get so much more clientele from this. It's still a very hard sell because it's like,
how do you even track that?
How do you track that?
Yeah.
Right. For some clients, it's much easier if it's like product related or like selling something like a pool, right? It's like, I sell you one more pool. Cool.
Easy.
Right. Yeah. Or beds. Like you're making a commercial for people that have beds or whatever. It's really tricky because then this is where the split happens actually in filmmaking. It's either you become like a video business strategist, which is where it's like, or you become like a pure filmmaker. And it's a very different routes here, but there's in the beginning you're gonna overlap and do a bit of both, mainly because the video business strategy side gets you more money, and it allows you to sell off of like an ROI and a number, whereas filmmaking is a little bit more like artsy fartsy, kind of like it's like a little bit more abstract. You can't really like track what that looks like, and why that value is that value, right? Ultimately, like what we've learned down the line is, everything that is put out is either building a brand or you're creating assets for ads, right? It's kind of like two different approaches, right? A big brand that has kind of like a following already, like the brand stuff gives them more like brand clout more so, and allows you to just continue existing, and like it builds more on the story side of things. So, there's less focus on what the total ROI is, because it overall brings in like more visibility, as well as like you know, allowing them to do more down the line. So whereas if you're just building more specific ad stuff, which is like, you know, hey, I need this short form thing so I can start running ads to it so I can bring money back into a company. That stuff is much more tangible. And you could be like, this video or like this shoot cost me $5,000. We got 10 videos out of this, and then I'm going to run all these ads and eventually make $5, $10, $15,000. So it's very easy. It's a math equation, right? Whereas when you start to sell more brand stuff, it's less of a math equation. It's more like, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to start realizing that how much business is structured into all this, because you need to start talking like a business owner and understand what people's problems and struggles are. Because regardless of where you're at right now, whether you want to keep going into more of the business strategy stuff, you just need to know how to speak to a business owner, because they have fears as well, and how they allocate money and like what their goals and intentions are. And you need to be able to speak numbers a little bit more clearly to articulate like, okay, so what's the ultimate end goal, right? If you sell a business owner on the idea of like, I'm going to make you this, I'm going to bring a red camera on this, and it's going to be a gorgeous shot, and like, they don't care, right? Like, they're like, this is money that is coming out of my kids' like fund, you know what I mean? For me to like buy them diapers or food or whatever. It's like, how can I know that this is actually worthwhile and I can trust you to make that investment to actually like try this and push things forward? Because also, if you don't have that proof behind you, it becomes very difficult. But then on the other side, it's like, you know, you want to build with this company and they care about the brand side of things. They're a little less intense on like, okay, like how many exact assets am I getting? Like all these fine details. This was the big jump for us, because it put me in the perspective of, okay, now I know to speak to a business owner, but I still don't actually want to do this type of work.
Yeah.
Right. So the mindset here in this range is you get a little bit more comfortable pitching numbers, because now you start to equate it to like, hey, if I just sell you 2 more of these, then it's all worthwhile. Like, how much does your client, like, you're supposed to sell 10 shoes, for example, pairs of shoes. How much money and profit do you make out of that? Do we think this video can make that happen? Right. And it also becomes a mixture job on someone to be like, my goal here is to make the best video, but are you even going to market this or put this out in the right way? And then you start to have to do more strategy. Yeah. So it's weird in this range where 0 to 500, you don't really have to teach much. You're just doing for the sake of doing. In that $500 to $2,500 range, it's actually way more difficult. Like, we were stuck here way longer because we were constantly being like, how do we equate a number to what we're giving you? Like, that's always the biggest question. Like, how do you get people to trust you so they give you money? And then weirdly enough, it's like, once you kind of get past that range, which is just doing a lot more of those jobs, and realizing that like the difference between a $2,500 price range versus like $5,000 is just how much confidence you have sometimes, right? And then finding the right clientele.
So tell me more about that, because I think that's the biggest issue. I think that was like the single biggest issue for me. I always thought that if my work got good enough and if my ideas got good enough, my clients who were paying me $500 were the same people who were going to pay me $2,500 for my next project. Yeah. But obviously that's not the case, because they're not going to get more money out of nowhere. Sometimes like this $500 is even like pushing their like monthly budget too much for marketing, right? So obviously in that scenario, I'm targeting the wrong clientele. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of people who are trying to make this jump don't even really understand what type of clients they should be looking for. Yeah. And how to find them, how to talk to them, like how to get on their radar. Where do you even start with that? Yeah. How would you approach that?
So when we were in the $2,500 range, people were still asking us the same type of questions. And it kind of like signaled to me that people perceived us in a very specific way. Yeah. So they're like, hey, do you guys make videos? Like, can you guys make this video for us? Like, it was very transactional. And you're still in this kind of technician phase where people have ideas and they just want you to execute them. Yeah. And so, the biggest thing as a filmmaker, whether you're a DP or cinematographer, director, whatever it is to gain more leverage. And when I say that, it's like, you need to be above everyone when you come down to the idea of like negotiating and stuff like that. And even when you start to think of these things too, like when you're in the negotiating phase, how do you get more leverage? And what that means when it comes to filmmaking is like, how do I make sure that when someone comes out and reaches out to me, I don't feel like I'm desperate or chasing them to be like, okay, what are the right questions do I ask? Like, what do I like say to them to make sure that like you kind of want to come with like an aura of like, you know, I am the expert, and you want to treat yourself as the expert, that you have the solution to whatever their problems are. And oftentimes that's pretty much what you're trying to get to. You're asking them the right questions to figure out what problems do you have? Like what real problems do you have? You think video is the vehicle to get you to that place, but it might be a different style of video. It might be a different approach to like the shoot. Instead of one single, let's shoot multiples, because then you're going to use it to like bring back more money elsewhere, right? It becomes your job as a filmmaker to like understand what people are really getting down to. Because sometimes people will come out and reach out to you and be like, oh, I need this video. And then when you get more details, you realize they just need like a videographer that like captures a recap or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, they're selling you this whole world first. And you're like, you could have just told me we just needed a recap video.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of people in this range, they just struggle to communicate exactly what it is they need. And you need to like coax it out of them. And that's where the confidence game comes in often. It's like to treat yourself like you're worth more than what you might even think about yourself, like value-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know when I was back in this phase where me and Justin couldn't get out of this $2,500 range, and I had this story where this client, he reached out to this other person in our local market, and then it was like a 2-day recap or whatever. And then they got quoted out like $10,000. And me and Justin are like, what? That's crazy. Why would they just come to us, yo?
Yeah.
Just come to us. We'll do it for like $2,000. Easy. And I'm like, wow, what a weird mindset to have. Like I was tearing this other person down because I'm like, I need that money. You know what I mean? And I was just doing like really weird, scummy stuff. Not in like in a bad way. It's just more like the way I thought about this space was what was actually holding me back. Because now if someone asked me to like quote out a 2-day production at that scale, I'd be like, yeah, it's like $35,000 or whatever. Like the money makes sense based on like what we offer. And there's just people at different scales and levels that why would I need to compare myself to other people? Like this is that scarcity mindset I was talking about. I was almost like jealous or envious that like that person could even like have the audacity to ask for that. But if I told someone right now, yeah, we'll charge $35,000 for that. If you're in that mindset right now and you looked and you're hearing this right now and you're like, screw these guys, you know, it's like, well, how could they even think to charge that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because we can. It's like we actually have the skills and the capacity, and that's how much we would charge to do a project at that scale. Just because you could do it for $500, just because you can is not the right word, right? It's like, should you? Like, no, you know what I mean? It's like either depending on where you're at in your career, that's the big like lever. Because once you kind of switch your mindset to be like, wait, I could charge whatever I want if I feel confident in myself and the skills that I bring and what I'm offering. And if someone else doesn't want it, right? If the client doesn't want it, that's not your fault, right? Like they're just not ready for that price range yet. And so like we got to a point where, yeah, we were doing $15,000, $20,000 recap videos. And we're like, cool. It kind of just became like a whatever thing. Because once you get past these stages, you realize that the last stage was like kind of like a laughable stage. Like it was just, you were meant to go through it to learn these very specific skills.
Yeah. You see how he said that with his chest? Like he was talking about his business with like, yeah, that's how much I charge.
It is what it is, you know?
Tell me, like, what was the trigger for you? Like, what was the switch that gave you that confidence to be able to pitch that?
In the beginning, I'll say the thing that held us back and it didn't feel like we had confidence in was the work that we were showing. So a client, we'd reach out, maybe like someone would reach out to us. And the first question that usually comes up is like, oh, okay, here's even worse, right? They start to pitch their idea. Oh, we love it. And then you start pitching your ideas too. And you're like, oh, we love it. Mm-hmm. Okay, can you send me your reel? And you're like, oh no, I thought we were good. Yeah. Like I thought like this was a great conversation. Can you just trust me to like be at this level to like do it? Like I literally told you exactly what you wanted to hear. In the beginning of like when you're pitching your ideas and stuff like that, that's like the number one trap of like, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, the call ends, you're like, I can't do any of that.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're giving me a $500 budget. And so, going back, it's a bit of realism too, to be strong on your negotiating side, to not just people please, because that in your mind in the beginning is the easiest way to get the job. I'm going to tell the client exactly what they want to hear. I'm just going to do the worst, like, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And that just burns you so quickly. You actually feel and look more confident when you can tell a client, like, okay, these are the boundaries, like this, let's not do that. Like, that's not feasible based on this budget, and having pushback. Because if I was on the flip side as a client and this person's like, yeah, we could do this, I almost don't believe you, because I know more or less, like, here's the budget, guys. Like, you're telling me you can do all that. Like, if you think of it in that perspective, it's almost like, I don't think it's possible. And now I'm giving more of a distance between me and you, because I'm like, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
Like, I've talked to other filmmakers that are like pitching the same project, and they're telling me the boundaries already. And when you're the person that's just being like, I can give you the world, it just looks bad and kind of bites you in the ass. So the more confident you get, the more, like, the easier it is to have these negotiation conversations, because you know what the world exists in and like what's actually feasible in that space. But yeah, that was a little bit of a side tangent. You had another question there.
No, but that makes sense, because now what you're charging is grounded in reality, right?
Yeah.
Because when it's not, you're pitching dreams.
Yes.
And you're like, this is worth this much because it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And then, like, even just as like a client sitting there, you're gonna be like, this guy is like,
Yeah,
this guy's talking out of his butt.
Yeah.
But when you are pitching with, like, when it's grounded to, like, you're gonna get these specific things, and this is specifically what it's gonna do for you, and this is why we specifically do this, then it's like, okay, these certain components, certain variables have prices.
Yeah.
That's why they're charging it like this. It's not just like, it's gonna be awesome and I want this much money for it.
Yeah. It happens it's like a twofold thing. Is you realize that you have to send reels out, which means that your work needs to get better.
Yeah.
And so with any of these levels, the first thing you want to do is think about your constraints first. So you're actually starting at, like, okay, I want to get to $500. Like, what's my constraints here? My constraints are like, I don't have any work. So I can't even, say you're starting at 0, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to 500. Your constraints are, I don't have any work. I don't have any skills. I have no money. And so what you can offer only is your labor and your time. And if you have a camera, great, like, start to push to that level. When you hit the $500 range, you're like, how do I get to 2,500? Okay, my constraints here doesn't seem like it's the work I'm doing anymore. Like, I do pretty good work. Like, I've gained some skills. I know how to speak a little bit more, have a little bit more confidence. And your constraints mainly being like your time, right? Because you want to get out of this price range because you can't do more of these. So to get $2,500, you're like, instead of doing 5 projects, I could just do 1. And now the constraint being the clientele. And you're like, how do I get more money? Like, how do I find the right people that have more money, that understand, and you can actually start to build more of like that ROI conversations into things. And then after that, you realize to get to $5,000, it becomes a battle of like, who's better. And like, that's actually going to be a big thing in the conversation we were talking about, is if someone asks you to send a reel and all you're sending is like your 5 best recaps, it doesn't really build the confidence to the thing that you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
So if you're selling to a video business that wants like we used to call it VBCs, right? Like, that's what we were taught to, like video business cards, pretty much. It's just like the who, what, when, where, how, like what you guys do. Super standard. You can sell them for as much as you want, based on what the clientele can offer and like cost wise. But if you want to get really good at that, you just need more of those, right? And so that's the simplest framework you can think about. Whatever genre of work that you want to end up doing, you just need more of those. So what does that mean? If you want early video business cards, find a client that's willing to do it for like $1,000 instead of your standard $25,000 or $5,000, because you just need stuff in your portfolio, right? This is where people start getting really good at finding a direction. Like, this is when direction starts to happen, really, because either you start sticking to like video, like weddings or whatever, or you want to move into more commercials or more client specific stuff or corporate. This is where people get stuck oftentimes, and you need to just like, they end up doing a lot of the same thing, right? And so you want to become like a wedding videographer, you do one for free, you do one for cheap, and then you start raising your rates. And then now you've kind of trapped yourself again. If this isn't the thing that you ultimately want to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's cool to think about the idea of reverse engineering, because you just did it, right? You just did these 5 weddings, and now you've built up this world where you can charge more. I have a friend, Lewis, great buddy of ours that like has been working with us since the beginning. And it's pretty much the same idea. Like he got into weddings, he got really good at it, and then he was capped at a price range. And then you just gotta look at your constraints again. Is it like, do I need to raise my skill level? Do I need to raise my marketing? Do I need to raise my my systems? Like his systems more or less were good. He just needed to raise his rates, and then building in more and more like marketing and like kind of like raise his value through that sense. And oftentimes you can just do that, right? You can just get better. So at the beginning you do so much more, right? You do like 50 corporate videos, and you're like, oh shoot, this is a lot. Like I have a crazy reel for this. But then they all look the same. And now you're like, okay, instead of doing more, which is like good, but it's like nothing's changing. It's just like an insanity wheel, right? You're just like, how am I not raising my rates anymore?
One of these days.
Yeah, one of these days, right? You need to just look at it and be like, first of all, do I want to stay in this space?
Yeah.
If I do, I got to get much better at it, right? And better meaning, just make your stuff look better, right? It's like put more energy into like how the output looks, how the feeling looks and everything. But ultimately marketing is going to be the end goal here, because if you could just market your same work better, you can also like raise your rates through confidence as well. So just being confident, being like, this is what my number is now. Like if you're doing 15, 20 weddings a year, and you want to just like double your rates, but do less projects, like it's absolutely doable. You just do it through scale, right? So you just raise your rates for your next 3, and you're like, everyone said yes, raise them again, right? Until you a point where it caps out, and you're like, okay, I'm doing $8,000 wedding videos now. What's gonna actually push me back, like past that barrier again? And then you just look back at the three constraints again, right? It's like, do I need to get better systems so I can do more? Or is it like my videos aren't good enough, and do I need to like change up the style or change up the visuals to kind of like continue elevating it? Or do I just need to market better and like find more expensive clientele, right? Like there's usually some form of path there. And the decision you make is based on like where you're struggling most on, right? So if you know you can sell $8,000 and you've proven that already for a wedding video, it becomes a game of like, how can I find more of these people, right? Because like you've already proven it. And that's a lot of these things too. It's a lot of mental barriers when it comes to pricing. I used to have this conversation with like every single filmmaker / photographer friend that I had. It's like, how do we get to like that 5,000? How do I charge $5,000? It's like, you just charge it, and then you just make sure your work is good enough and under promise and over deliver is really the game here always, right? And then it becomes like it's truly a referral game and like the network you have. So like, which is why we care so much about the work that we put in to the right projects, because it ultimately brings in more work down the line. I know this is all self-tangent-y stuff, but that's kind of this mid-range game right now, where it's like, you're like that 500, like 500, 2,500. You just got to do more and be better. Yeah. And then past that, it's like find more clients and like raise your rates and kind of just start marketing more. So in that like $500 to $1,000 range, what was like your biggest struggle there?
I think it was like, we're just like waffling, right?
Yeah.
We would go into projects like blind. We would have no clear direction, idea. And even like when it comes to like the prices we're actually charging, we have like no idea where we're pulling this money numbers from.
Yeah. And even how to like budget it out and stuff.
Yeah. We have nothing to like back it up.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, that's like one of the biggest struggles most people have, is a lot of the uncertainty of like, what is this money actually going towards? Like, does this all go to me? Does this all go to the production or whatever it is? And then you like you said too, like we used to just go on every set completely blind. Yeah. Like our pre-production was like, let's just show up and we'll figure it out. And it just bit us, every single time. And that's ultimately like what made us like really double down and triple down on figuring out a real pre-production system. And like, with that being said too, like that's actually why we're actually beginning a pre-production playbook, which is created by Zach and Tenfold Production as well. That actually walks you through every single step of the pre-production process, because we've over time realized that, pre-production is not even just like 50% of the project. It is like 80-95% of the project. And I know that's a big range there, but if you really mess up in pre-production, it's so easy to just go down the drain. So this is something that we're actually super excited to create for you guys. And down the line, if you want to join the waitlist, you can jump into it, because we're going to have some really cool bonuses and things that we want to add in there that really shows you and walks you through the full path of like how to actually take information from a director, how to actually build out a pre-production schedule and a booklet that is fully, created so your whole team is actually on the same page and aligned, and ultimately, actually makes your whole project better. So we made this so you don't actually have to go through the 5 years of struggles that we did, and the wasted amount of money that, really killed our projects. And ultimately, this is the thing that's like, I wish I had when we first started, because, there's just so much like unknowns. And when you don't know stuff, you just assume you're doing it right. And when you don't know the standards of things, then you just kind of waffle around, like you said. So yeah, we're super excited to get this out. So if you're looking to save time, money, or energy, check out the description below to join the waitlist now.
So let's talk about the next jump then. Like, now this is getting into kind of a weird territory.
Yeah.
Because now the money starts to be like, it could go anywhere within the project. So define that range for me. What would this next range be? And how do you get there? And what does that world actually look like?
Yeah, I would say when we started working together, the four of us, with Zach and Adrian as well, with Justin, we pushed into like the 5 to 25K range. And we were there for a little bit as well. But to get to this space, you have to start doing more spec work, right? And this is like proving your value, proving your worth type of things. Because like I say, like, you're never going to get the perfect job in your lap. And it was very true for us as well. We never got those opportunities. And they slowly started to trickle in, but they were based off of the people that we knew and we worked with. Yeah. And that's typically what the game is, right? It's like, yeah, you can keep elevating your work, which is what we always like tell you to do, throughout every range. That's literally the goal, right? Like, how do you save more money in the work that you're doing so you can start pushing in a very specific angle that you want to go into? For us, it was like more commercial work, right? So even when we got to that range, it was still doing a lot of like, corporate jobs and like recaps, but then they were just higher level now. And we were working with like, Sportsnet and like, just like random people would refer us to these, these recap videos, but they were just in that price range and we were okay with that. And it was just like, cool, fast turnaround. The same type of work that we were doing before for like $500 recaps, but now we were just doing it for 15K. Yeah. There was actually no difference. My only point for that was like, you find better clients that are more willing and have budgets to set aside for this. And then we just like double down on spec work. And the reason why we do that is because it just shows that you're capable of doing the work that you want to be doing. You put in your own voice there, and like, you're learning so much faster because you get to just do whatever you want and try whatever you want. And we were just talking with like a friend in Vancouver, in BC, sorry. And same idea too. It's like you find these kind of like great projects and clients that allow you to do whatever you want. And they don't really put too much like creative pressure on you. And like, that's typically a good sweet spot to like start growing on. Cause like you can expand your skill sets and try new things and still get paid. Like, there's a good wave there where it's almost like the perfect trifecta, and you're always searching for that. So like, whatever that version of that looks like for you, like for Lewis, it's like probably like, he gets to make great wedding films, but now he gets to charge more. And then he also gets the ability to like try new things because he's carved out his own lane and his style with his brand. That's like the sweet spot of how you grow and like be consistent and also get more consistent, like recurring clients down the line. Before that, you're just doing stuff to make it better, right? But if it's not in the right path or right decision, then you're kind of just doing stuff for the sake of doing it. Yeah. Right. Like, I didn't want to double down on recap videos. So I was just doing that for the financial side of things. And then I just funneled that over back into like everything else that we did.
And then what's the mindset within this range? Like, how do you even like stay here? How do you stay afloat in this place? Because I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong about this, I feel like these types of clients or opportunities are more scarce. I want to say it's not going to come as frequently as like these $500 jobs.
Actually, I think there's more here. Because like in that $0 to $500 range, you're searching out for them. and it's like the flip side, right? Like you're actively like, hey, do you want a video? Hey, do you want a video? For these companies, they have already flipped and they know they need to do more marketing and do more sales to actually like continue pushing their business forward. So they're more actively looking for you now.
Yeah.
And so you just need to prime yourself to be in the right position when they're searching for you.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times in the beginning, we thought we were just going to be like, hey, grind, put your head down, don't even show anyone the work, right? But truthfully, in this day and age and everything that we do, it's like building in public and like being more open. Don't be scared to like show your systems, show your BTS, like talk about what you're doing. I saw this from like there's like this cafe in Vancouver, Cowdog, I believe. And the best part of it is like they're so open about everything they do, right? Like they talk about their numbers for the month, how they did, like where the numbers are coming in from, and like it's weird that it's like the flip side of what you might expect. Like someone that's so open about that stuff. Like as a filmmaker, you're probably so scared to tell people about what you're actually doing and what your processes are and like what the struggles and the realities of what you're doing is.
Yeah.
But it's actually for them a big positive because it shows like the transparency, how open you are. And you end up wanting to support these people more, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, like that's exactly like, it's way more relatable, right? Like I can feel that, like I know those struggles or those reels, like those real moments. And so right now, I think everyone that does well when it comes to what they do is their ability to showcase who they are as people first, because the work, it could be pretty, but the stuff that always does best for us is the BTS,
Yeah.
and how we function, how we do it. And we kind of needed that flip side to like make us realize that, hey, there's more interest out in the world to be like a one-on-one, right? Just like, how do I actually become friends with you? And this leads perfectly into the next topic, which is like the people that are going to pay you at this range are people that you feel most comfortable with, and most likely going to be people that you've grown up through these stages of.
Sure.
And they're like elevating their work and they're doing more things, and they'll eventually come back to you as long as you're constantly growing as well. So like you're getting more spec projects, you're doing more things that like elevate your skills and like your assets in terms of back to the trifecta of like, optically, are you doing more? Like, are you consistent with your work? And then like, can you actually execute on the types of projects that are coming through? And then just putting it out into the world and showcasing that, right? The people that just show the behind the scenes all the time, like they absolutely crush it.
So who are these types of people that you just mentioned, like the people that you grew with? Because it's probably not like the local business, the barbershop that you were working for before. It's probably a different type of individual, right?
Yeah. So the type of individuals you want to be talking to are people like one of our good friends, like Andrew, for example. Like we started on smaller jobs together, and then we kind of like raised through the ranks at the same time, and that's been great too, because it's like we have like overlapping interests in what we do and what we want to do, and so there's always this like elevation of like, we can work with you to do more cool things, and then we'll work with you to help you do cool things on your side. And those are kind of the relationships that you want to be building. Yeah. Because we have people from like the agency world that we were starting, like that we just knew, right? You definitely want to leverage everyone that you potentially know, whether it's friends, like that's where we got all of our first actors, all of our ideas in the beginning, or just our friends that we had. And people that, everyone's always more or less climbing a ladder somewhere. Maybe it's not filmmaking, but they're climbing an agency ladder, or this person's working at a brand right now and they're going to make their way to become like the marketing director or whatever. Well, if you're keeping that relationship going this entire time, who do you think is going to call you on for a project down the line?
True.
Right? It's like, that's what this nurture idea is. If you don't have this ability to talk to people in real life and make a real connection with someone, there's just no way they're going to come back to you. Yeah. Right? Because it's equally as important as like, the DM conversations you have are so fake in that sense of like, there's so much disconnect between you and that person and what that means. But then once you meet in person, it becomes a real connection of like, oh, we've met, like, and I've talked about this with some friends too, and like in the more advanced side of things of like the people that are DPs in this world that have like reached out to me and like we've actually met in person, they're automatically closer to the top when it comes to what projects might come down the line. So, if Zach's not available, I have like 3-4 people that I've met in person that will get slotted right to the top. And I would go through those before I start going for like people that I've never met before and giving them a shot. And so, this like super small little like limiting belief here is that like you just need to go out and meet more people.
Yeah.
That's
Because
the game.
it's beyond just like being a better director or DP, filmmaker, or anything. When you're in this industry, it really is like a numbers game within the people's game.
It's all like very niched and very like siloed.
Yeah.
Like the people that we've worked with from the beginning, Jordan, all these folks, like we still work with them today, and we've all grown up through the ranks of it. And that's the idea. It's like the people that you know 20 years from now are the people that we work with today. And so I'll see you in 20 years. You know, it's like that's the idea. It's like
Cool.
wherever you are in 20 years, it's like we're still going to be finding ways to like work together, because we spent so much time and we've talked so much that like you have a relationship further than the project work. The project work is whatever, right? It's just like, how do you actually become friends with people? That's why golf is such a big thing.
Really?
Right? Like that's because people get a chance to like spend 2-3 hours with other people. And you're forced to just like enjoy time together. Right. And so this kind of goes back to like a wider conversation of networking. Networking isn't just going to like a business convention and being like, hi, my name is whoever. Hi, my name is whoever. Like that's like a part of it. You could absolutely do that. And we know people that do that successfully. But the things that have actually given me so many more jobs and opportunities and like the 6-figure projects have been like simple connections that I've made through running, right? Going to running events, going to running, because I enjoyed running, right? So it became like a new vehicle for me to network that didn't feel like it was super forced. Like everyone's there to run, and you just happen to talk to people and get to know each other. And then I've met some of like my best friends there, and like people that like I've really connected and like done so many things with, and naturally that just offers and opens up more opportunities to find work. So for everyone to like see what actually gets you excited, right? Like for example, like Chad's a good example. Chad's like our producer and also the director as well. It's like he goes and finds ways that are naturally exciting for him. For him, it's like fashion. So like he actually goes out and like meets the people, right? He meets the owners, he meets the people that are doing pop-ups and stuff like that, because like it's that natural connection over time that, oh, I've seen you before. It's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, I run like video, I'm a director. It's like, oh, dope, I actually have a project coming up. Like I didn't have anyone else in mind yet. Like, you want to chat about this? You see how natural that flows versus like going and trying to like force yourself into a DM. Because like these DMs can be like, hey, I would love to work with you. Cool stuff. You know, it's like, I don't really want to talk to you. Like, like I'm busy right now or whatever it is. Like you find more ways to make excuses, but if you can show up and actually be authentic and be real and make these genuine connections, that's what's going to actually push you past into these bigger price ranges. And it's not so much like exactly what it is you do anymore, right?
So go outside.
Go outside.
Cool.
Network. I think there's some really important frameworks here, which is just like be a normal person, go out more and like meet people in your local space. There's 2 ways to do this. You know, one of our even our students were talking about this. Rich, he's like red ocean and blue ocean. Like you can spend a lot of time in this filmmaker space by yourself, and just get to know every other filmmaker. And it's good for when you're trying to build out rosters and people that you want to work with, but they're not necessarily the people that are going to get you more work. They might give you some stuff occasionally, but sometimes it's better to put yourself in spaces that you're the one of one there, right? In the running world, you know, when I go to these run clubs, no one's really a filmmaker there, right? People have jobs. People are like agents. Some people are like managing directors at companies, right? So you just open yourself up to way more opportunities and way more chances. And when you put yourself out there and you just get to know these people naturally, they force themselves to find ways to work with you, right? Like you don't even have to ask anymore. You're just being the cool, regular person that you are. And that's like a fun way of doing it. Like go to business conventions and like actually shake hands with people, because like they're all trying to raise, you know, their coaches, their whoever it is. And then they meet you as a filmmaker or someone that's running a video business, whichever direction you are. You just became their person, their go-to person. Because everyone like, you know, this is the fun part. Like everyone knows a video person.
They have a guy.
They have a guy. And sometimes you just want to be that guy, you know, and like they get excited to talk about you. They get excited to like see what you're up to and talk to you. And like, it's your job. And this is actually becomes, you know, this is the advanced version of this. This is called being an executive producer. Because you actually just end up going out there and like schmoozing and talking to people, bringing them out for lunches and stuff like that. Because if I bring you out for lunch and you have a project that comes in like 3 weeks or whatever, you're gonna think about like, who was the last person that brought me out for lunch?
Yeah.
Like, who do I actually enjoy hanging out with? And it's cliquey in a way, right? Because it's all, again, like siloed. Like, hey, I don't really want to work with other people, so like you just end up being the person over and over and over again. It's like, that's the phase one, but the second phase just being like, are you actually good enough to do the work that I'm giving you?
Yeah.
Because then I need to make sure that you're vouched and good enough, which is why it comes back to that, the secondary point that's so important is just like, be good, like get better, right? And start to pick a lane and like really figure out who you are. So then you can just get better and better and better at it and do more of it. But don't keep changing like exactly what you want to be doing. Once you pass that 5K range, like you want to settle in on who you are and what you want to be doing, and then just like double, triple, quadruple down on that and hit every version of it, every variation, every subgenre of that. So then you are just the master of that work, because it becomes so easy after our lunch conversation to be like, I'm talking to the master of weddings.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go anyone else. Like whenever people ask me like to do weddings and stuff like that, I'm like, I am not your person, first of all. But you know who is? Lewis is. Because I know Lewis, I can trust him. He's already done work when I passed it off to him and he sold the project and like they loved him. Like it makes me feel good that I'm also sending work to the right person, and it's also a buddy that can like also, you know, benefit from that long term. So that's the game. Go outside, get better, and just repeat it over and over, because it's not a 1 year thing. You have to do this for like years and years, but it does pay off.
Cool. Well, I think that's a great place to end it. I think if we go into the other ranges, it'll be like hour-long conversation.
100%. So yeah, check out Set Memory. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments below, because we always want to figure out where you guys are at in your careers right now, so we can tackle these topics very specifically. And if you have any questions or thoughts, leave them in the comments, DM us, whatever it is. We'll see you in the next one. See ya.
Peace.